Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Stress is Stressing Me Out podcast. I am your host, Maki Adeyemi, and today we will be discussing the fear of rejection. Before we get into that, I want to talk about our devotional. And our devotional today comes from the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, 32 through 34. And it says, "Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt." The title of this devotional is called The Baggage Activity. Karen, a middle school teacher, created an activity to teach her students how to better understand one another. In the baggage activity, students wrote down some of the emotional weights they were carrying. The notes were shared anonymously, giving the students insight into each other's hardships, often with a tearful response from their peers. The classroom has since been filled with a deeper sense of mutual respect among the young teens who now have a greater sense of empathy for one another. Throughout the Bible, God has nudged his people to treat one another with dignity and show empathy in their interaction with others. As early in history of Israel as the book of Leviticus, God pointed the Israelites towards empathy, especially in their dealings with foreigners. He said to love them as themselves because they too had been foreigners in Egypt and knew that hardships intimately. Sometimes the burdens we carry make us feel like foreigners, alone and misunderstood, even among our peers. We don't always have a similar experience to draw on as the Israelites did with foreigners among them. Yet we can always treat those God puts in our path with respect and understanding that we ourselves desire. Whether a modern-day middle schooler, an Israelite, or anything in between, we honor God when we do. Okay, the title of this episode is Fear of Rejection. And this, I know this is touchy for most people. It is for me. For some people, it may still be a sore spot. I know for me, sometimes it is a sore spot. It's been something that has been there since I was a child, when I was a young girl. I prayed about it. I gave it to the Lord. But sometimes it still comes up. That pain comes up. That memory comes up. Whether it's rejection from, someone you're interested in that you would like to date, or rejection from a clique in school or a group of students or a group of kids that you wanted to, be friends with, and they told you to go away. It could be rejection in a number of things. So today I want to discuss some of the things you can do to get over the fear of being rejected. I don't really think we'll ever get over, and if we do, it's kind of hard. Like I said, to get over being rejected, but we can, take steps, to make it better, to where it doesn't affect us as much. I know that rejection hurts. There's really no way around it. Most people want to belong and connect with others, especially people they care about. Feeling rejected by those people and believing you aren't wanted, whether it's for a job, dating, or friendship. It isn't a pleasant experience. And as I said before, we all have experienced rejection at some point during our life. We may be experiencing it now, and we're not a teenager or a young person anymore. The pain can cut pretty deep. In fact, rejection appears to activate the same regions in the brain that physical pain does. It is easy to understand why many people dread and even fear rejection. If you experienced it once or a few times, you probably remember how much it hurt and worry about it happening again. I know I have. But fearing rejection can hold you back from taking risks and reaching for big goals. Fortunately, it's absolutely possible to work through this mindset with a bit of work. Here are some tips to get you started on, what you can do about feeling rejected or being rejected. Number one, remember that it happens to everyone, even these most popular people. You sit and watch these reality shows, you see the celebrities in Hollywood, and you just think, they're so beautiful. I bet that all the men were drooling over them when they were in high school or when they were college, when they were younger. And when you sit and listen to the biographies of some of the celebrities, you will find out that that wasn't the case. I was listening to the biography of Janis Joplin, and I think she had a painful life. She was in college, and the men on campus, or the boys on campus, voted her to be the most ugly man on campus. And she said that, she had to leave. She packed up and left Port Arthur, Texas, and never returned home, never returned back again. So, you can only look at a person from the outside, and we all have assumptions about everybody, and that may not be the case. Rejection is a pretty universal experience, and fear of rejection is very common. Most people experience rejection over things big and small at least a few times in their lives, such as a friend ignoring a message about hanging out, being turned down for a date, not receiving an invitation to a classmate's party, or a long-term partner leaving for someone else. And of course, the list goes on and on. It never feels good when something doesn't happen the way you want it to, but not all of life's experiences turn out the way you hope. Reminding yourself that rejection is just a normal part of life, something everyone will face at some point, may help you fear it less. Everybody is not going to like you. I'm a school teacher. I have 134, 135 students that I see weekly, and I know most of them do not like me. I do not let them get away with things. But you just have to just suck it up. And I guess suck it up is the wrong way to go about it. But you can't let it cloud, what you're there to do. You're there, to educate the kids, to teach the curriculum. And that's at any job, not just in teaching or education. That's in any job that you have, whether it's nursing or you're teaching on a college level, or you're an engineer or architect or a doctor or whatever it is. You can't just, let people come in and just throw you for a loop. And, you take things to heart and you shut down. You just can't allow people to do that to you on any basis. Number 2, validate your feelings. No matter the source of the rejection, it still hurts. Other people might see what happened as no big deal and encourage you to get over it. But the pain may linger, especially if you happen to have a higher sensitivity to rejection. Rejection can also involve other uncomfortable emotions such as embarrassment and awkwardness. And I have dealt with both of those. No one can tell you how you're feeling except for you. Before you begin addressing your feelings around rejection, it is important to acknowledge them. Telling yourself that you don't care about getting hurt when you really do denies you the opportunity to confront and manage this fear productively. And from my life experience, I did walk around, like I didn't care what people thought of me. And, sometimes I don't. And it does hurt when individuals say things to you when they don't know anything about you. They only know your name and what you do every day when they see you. They don't know you as the person outside of outside of work or outside of school. They don't know you as the person. And we have at least with the kids, and I see this, I have other kids that would tease other kids because of what they have on. Well, maybe that's what they can afford. Maybe that's all they had. They came with what they had on. They came in to sit down and to learn something, and you have the kids that come in and just want to show off what mom and dad bought them, whether it was a new pair of shoes or a new outfit or whatever the case. Is always something. And it didn't change today. It was the same when I was growing up also. I didn't have the name brand clothes. We weren't poor, but my parents bought what they could afford. And that's anybody. And that's even today, as I'm an educator, I'm a teacher, I do have a job. I can't just go out and buy $1 million house or buy a Jaguar or buy a Rolls Royce. All these high price, high ticket things. And this is very true of what I heard Dave Ramsey said, and I'm giving him credit for this. I heard Dave Ramsey say, you buy things to impress people that, one, you don't know, two, you do not like. So you put yourself in debt for no reason whatsoever because you're trying to impress somebody who probably don't even care either way. So it's just easier to be yourself. And hopefully, the people in other people will like you for who you are and not of this fake persona that you're trying to portray. Okay, the next tip. Looking for the learning opportunity. It may not seem like it right away, but rejection can provide opportunities for self-discovery and growth. Say you apply for a job you really want and have a great interview, but you don't get the job. I've had many of those. This might devastate you at first, but after taking a second look at your resume, you decided it wouldn't hurt to brush up on some skills and learn how to use a new type of software. After a few months, you realize this new knowledge has opened doors to higher paying positions you previously weren't qualified for. When it comes to romantic rejection, reviewing what you're really seeking in a partner can help you work through rejection fears. It can also set you on a path to find someone who is a great fit from the start. A lot of us, and I'm going to speak from the romantic perspective here, a lot of us look at how the person looks. Is he a handsome man? Is she a beautiful woman? And, we tend to look at and go for that. And in some cases, even though they have all of that going on, they have the good looking and they have the handsome, they have the beautiful. But their attitude and some of the things they do makes them look horrible. We wouldn't know that because we're just looking at the outside. There's on YouTube, and I won't call this gentleman's name. He has a YouTube channel, but I won't call his name because I will not give him a free advertising. But it is a gentleman that makes it his business to talk to women, and he puts women down every chance that he can get. They go on a Zoom or Google Meet with him live, and they ask him questions about dating and what men want and this type of thing. And he will come back always. He will always come back for something that is negative, or he will always say something that is negative about this person. And it may not be true. It may be true. It may not be true. But we really need to be careful when we, sometimes we have tunnel vision. We need to be careful about just looking at how the person looks on the outside. Because as you and I both know, aging takes over. And you're not going to look the same at 50 as you did when you were 20 or 25. It doesn't work that way. And so we have some men out there that only look at the beauty of a woman and they determine if they're going to spend money on her, if they're going to be in a relationship with her, maybe have a child with her. They look at how pretty she is. They're not looking at anything else. They're not looking at if she can cook. They're not looking at if she can keep a house, if she can even take care of a child. I know women who got married and they can't even cook. They can't even fry an egg. They can't even toast. But yet the man went for that because she was beautiful. And when they actually got into the marriage, he's the one that figured out, oh, I made a mistake here, because even though this woman is beautiful, she's not coming with anything but that. And I need more than that. So you need to be very careful when you look at the beauty of people. And, people are people. None of us made ourselves. We are gloriously made. No, we did not make ourselves. And we are who we are as people. Some of us are drop dead gorgeous. Some of us are not. Even if we look at the drop dead gorgeous women like Christy Brinkley, who was a model, married, husband cheated on her. Christy Brinkley is beautiful. And if that's the case, all of us women have a problem. Her husband, had an affair on her. So you have a lot of women out here who are considered beautiful, who are hurt by the men that they claim to love and who say they love them. So you just be careful when you get into a situation like that. The next step, remind yourself of your worth. Rejection can be particularly frightening when you read too much into it. If you had a few dates with someone who suddenly stops texting back, for example, you might worry you bore them or they didn't find you attractive enough. But rejection is often simply a case of needs not matching up. Let me say that again. Rejection is often simply a case of needs, NEEDS, not matching up. Ghosting is never a good approach, but some people just lack good communication skills or think saying, "You're nice and cute, but I didn't quite feel it," might hurt you, when in fact you really appreciate the honesty. Building up your self-confidence and self-worth can help you remember that you are entirely worthy of love, leading you to feel less afraid of continuing your search for it. Try writing a paragraph about 3 times you were most proud of yourself. Listing 5 ways you practice your personal values, or reminding yourself what you have to offer a partner. The next step, keep things in perspective. If you're more sensitive to rejection and spend a lot of time worrying about it, you might imagine a lot of worst case scenarios. Say you didn't get into your graduate program of choice. You might start worrying that all the programs you apply to will reject you, and you'll have to try again next year. But then you begin to worry that you'll be rejected next year too, which will make it impossible to get the job you want and advance your career, which will make it impossible for you to ever become financially stable enough to achieve your dream of home ownership and a family, and so on. This type of negative thought spiral is called catastrophizing and is usually not realistic. Consider giving yourself a couple of actionable backup plans or coming up with counterarguments to some of your main fears. The next step, figure out what really scares you about rejection. Exploring what's really behind your fear of rejection can help you address that specific worry. Maybe you're afraid of romantic rejection because you don't want to feel lonely. Realizing this can help you prioritize developing strong friendships too, which can help insulate you against loneliness. Or maybe you worry about being rejected by potential employers because you feel financially insecure and don't have a plan B. Outlining a few possible strategies in case you don't find the job you want right away may help. Okay, the next step is face your fear. Sure, if you don't put yourself out there, you won't experience rejection, but you probably won't achieve your goals either. Going for what you want gives you the chance to experience success. You might experience rejection, but then again, you might not. Someone afraid of romantic rejection might start by creating a dating profile without any intention to use it immediately. Then they might progress to chatting without the intention of meeting in person. If you do this, just be sure to let people know that you aren't looking to meet yet. Okay, our next step here is reject negative talk. It is easy to fall into a pattern of self-criticism after experiencing rejection. You might say things, I knew I'd mess that up, I didn't prepare enough, I talked too much, or I'm so boring. But this reinforces your belief that rejection was your fault when it may have had nothing to do with you at all. If you believe someone will reject you because you aren't good enough, this fear can move forward with you and become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Positive thinking doesn't always make situations turn out a certain way, but it can help improve your perspective. When you encourage and support yourself, you're more likely to believe in your own potential to achieve your goals. And if you don't work it out, practice self-compassion by telling yourself what you'd tell a loved one in the same situation. Okay, the next step here is lean on your support network. Spending time with people who care about you can reinforce your knowledge that you are, in fact, wanted. A good support network offers encouragement when you try to achieve your goals and comfort in your efforts don't succeed. Knowing your loved ones have your back, no matter what happens, can make the possibility of rejection less scary. I love my family. I hang out with my brothers. I have one particular brother who is younger than me. We hang out all the time. I hang out with his kids, my nieces and my nephews, and he's been a great help to me through everything that I had to deal with. So I thank, not saying that my other family members wouldn't do the same, but this particular brother to me is different. Trusted friends can also help you practice exposing yourself to rejection scenarios you're afraid of. All right, the next step, talk to a professional. Rejection fears can have long-lasting effects, including preventing you from going after big opportunities at school or at work. It's possible to overcome rejection fears on your own, but professional support is sometimes beneficial. It may be time to consider reaching out to a therapist if you fear rejection. Fear of rejection can lead to anxiety or panic attacks, keeps you from things that you want to do, and cause distress in your daily life. I've had anxiety attacks. This was years ago. But I can vouch for not wanting to put yourself out there after being rejected. And I have thought many times that I was not good enough. I was not pretty enough. Or back then I was heavier than what I am right now. I was 180, close to 200 pounds. I was not thin enough at that time. Can't say that now because I did and I am working on myself. And I'm still a little leery about putting myself out there. I've taken classes and, I've interacted with, the people who I had class with, and that was fine. But as far as me personally, I would never choose to be around a group of people unless it's my family. But if it's just a group of strangers, I would prefer to be by myself. I would prefer to like to do things by myself. But that is me. And I know that's not a healthy thing. But I'm a work in progress. The bottom line here, though, rejection can sting and make you doubt yourself. But fearing it may limit you, preventing you from experiencing much of what life has to offer. Choosing to look at rejection as an opportunity for growth instead of something you can't change can help you feel less afraid of the possibility. Pain usually fades in time, and this pain is no exception. In a year or even a few months, it may no longer matter to you very much. If you're having trouble getting past this fear, a therapist can offer guidance. It's been years, and like I said, I don't dwell on rejection. It's just sometimes it comes back up. Even though it happened almost 30, 40 years ago, it still comes back. It still comes back up. Sometimes that is in my face. And some of those memories Some of those memories are painful. They are painful. I try not to think about it. I think we all try not to try to think about the past and be happy for where we are now. We may not be where we are. Excuse me, let me say that again. We may not be where we want to be now. And we may not be that type of person we were, 20, 30 years ago, that we are a different person than that. But I don't really agree with classical therapy like Freud and Skinner. I believe in biblical therapy, biblical help. What does the Lord say about these things? And what kind of resource, from our pastors we can get. So everybody is working on themselves, and no one is actually at the point where they have graduated, and we are constantly working on ourselves. We're constantly working, trying to better our situation, better ourselves. And, we don't have no control over other people. We only have control over ourselves. So what do you think? What are your thoughts? Tweet me at StressingIs or email me at sismo1875@gmail.com. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Google Plays, and Blog Talk Radio. Until next week, let not your heart be troubled. Relax.